Okay, so for my portion of the presentation, I'm doing it over Module 6, which is the cultural approach. And for what part of the cultural approach that I decided to talk about in my paragraph and part of the presentation is how technology was used during the case study and how that has an effect on the culture that is shown throughout the organization that is described. And I think technology presents some interesting challenges for organizations in terms of like how messages should be delivered to their workers and what things are okay to be like given over an email or a phone call or a text message, and what things should really be communicated in person. And I think the organization in this case study was somewhat unprofessional in how they delivered the news to the team over the course of two emails. The first one being the news that there is going to be a merger, and the second being the news that their team was cut in the merger. And I think uh, I think that Talbot uh, was much more professional in her communication to the team because she gave a direct phone call to give them the news that there was going to be a merger. Um, and in a direct phone call, you can kind of give a lot more, you can communicate a lot more emotion, which I think is important to give a sense of like humanity to your organization, and it makes, I think it makes the employees feel more comfortable. And she waited to give the news in person to make a decision on whether or not she would tell the team, so that she could tell them in person whether or not that their jobs would be in jeopardy, which they ended up being. And I think that telling someone in person that they're being fired is far more professional because you're able to show a lot more empathy through a in-person meeting than you are through an email, which is nearly impossible to show any kind of emotion or empathy through text. And I think her decision to tell the team, like as a whole team in person, is much more effective in making the team feel more comfortable with their situation. And I think overall was just a lot more professional than uh, what the higher ups in the organization decided to do. And I also think that the organization should have given the team some kind of heads up that the merger may have an effect on on their employment, so that it wouldn't have blindsided them so much right before their presentation. And while this may have made the team more stressed throughout the period, I think it would have been far less stressful to them in one single moment than it is when they find out that they're being cut from the organization in such an abrupt way. Because they when if they find out that they're being cut in such an abrupt way, then they don't have any backup plan or any kind of uh, thing that they could fall back on, and they just kind of are left to fend for themselves. Whereas if they're told about the news, or at least, given the news that they may be cut from the organization in the merger, then they could prepare, and it wouldn't it wouldn't be as depressing to them when they find out that they are cut from the merger.